Welcome to Trenchometry. If you've spent any time in or around the trenches, playing offensive line isn't just blocking. It is chess at light speed. You're controlling angles while a 280-pound defender tries to destroy your running back. Every snap calculating leverage, mirroring footwork, and anchoring against pure violence. Miss one step and your franchise player gets flattened. We're here to discuss the most undervalued aspect of the game of football, the offensive line. Remember, when you master the trenches, you'll win the war. My guest today was a standout player in New Jersey at Seton Hall Prep and started his college career at Vanderbilt University, where he would earn his degree in economics in 3.5 years. He would then grad transfer to Georgia Tech, where he would be named team captain and earn all ACC academic recognition honors. He now trains NFL prospects and has influenced current All-Pros like Andrew Thomas and Super Bowl champion Tyler Steen. I would like to welcome Jared Southers to Trenchometry today. Jared, welcome, man. I'm excited to have you here as we expand this channel. It's thrilled to have somebody that has a hand on kind of that next level, helping influence that next level here today to talk offensive line with us. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome.
So excited to talk about offensive line, man.
The importance is there. So let's start with what you're doing now, and we'll kind of get into that. But what's your day-to-day now? You're out there influencing the next generation of NFL offensive linemen. What do you do in the morning when you wake up and you're heading into the office? What's on the schedule for you?
So the fall is kind of a little bit more of my downtime, given that we're in season. I'm also a strength and performance coach at a gym over in Atlanta. So that's what takes up a good amount of my time during the day. And I train a good amount of volleyball girls and other athletes that are out of season right now. Some other things I'm doing as well is I break down film for a ton of college guys. So I spend a lot of time watching tape, college tape, NFL tape for some of my NFL guys, but just creating weekly scouting reports for them each week, and just helping them come up with their individual game plan for the guys they face. Because one thing I talk about with the guys is that the coaching staff's going to come up with the scheme and the game plan for the offense, but we don't talk about enough our scheme and game plan for individuals, because the guys you face week in and week out, they're not all the same. So the way you play a fast speed rusher is going to be different than how you play a speed to power guy who has some size to him. So just having them to be able to think more in that lens, it has really helped them tremendously from week to week.
So you're drilling down. You're really focusing in on the actual individual man-on-man battles are getting ready to take place each week. And even as a tackle, you might see 2 or 3 different guys. So you're getting together 2, 3, maybe 4 scouting reports on those defensive ends a tackle might see, or the inside interior guys that a guard or center may see.
Yeah, absolutely. So I break down the overall scheme, look for any tendencies, kind of talk some of the nitty-gritty details, like how they play double teams, how their linebackers play, base fronts, pass rush fronts, and then just talk about each individual that was shown on tape, and just talk about how those guys play in the run game, how those guys pass rush, and then the ways to attack them in both the run game and the pass pro.
Well, this is fascinating. I hadn't even thought about going into this aspect of it. So you're getting tells off of film. You're watching for tells on the defender. But go down into some detail there with what are your eyes looking for, like to the average guy? Because I think that this is your skill that you just talked about right there. That's something that is very valuable, particularly even offensive line coaches doing that for their young guys in high school that don't really have the experience or have any idea what they're looking for. How's that approach go for you? How do you actually start that breakdown process? Is there a certain, I'm sure there's a form that you've developed, you've done it so many times, you kind of probably might even have a form in your mind that you don't even really know that you're doing, or a checklist, but is there a certain checklist that you're going down as you prepare that, or as you start down that endeavor, that road? What is it that you're looking for?
Yeah. So when I'm watching tape, looking at it from two different lenses. So looking to see what they do as a group, and then also looking to see what guys do as individuals. One way to look at it is if you're looking how guys pass rush, and if they all have a consistent move that they're all hitting, that means that's what they're being coached to do. So that's what they're being coached to do. So that's what they're probably going to default to if all else fails. And then also just looking at guys as individuals when breaking down pass rushers. First things first, just looking to see if they have power, because that's something that can cause a lot of problem for guys. So looking to see if they have power, and then just looking to see the style of how they rush. Are they a speed to power guy? Are they a power to finesse guy? Are they trying to work their hands? Are they trying to long arm stab? What are their go-to counters? And just having that for each individual. And then also just looking at it across the board for the group, like I mentioned. But the biggest thing is just understanding how those guys play and then the different ways to attack it. Like, for example, if I have a guy who's not scary with speed but has a lot of power, I'm going to want to get on him quicker. I want to use my angles to my advantage, use my length, jumps in a little bit more on normal downs, and just find ways to take that power away and take away his strength. And then also just understanding who it is you are as offensive linemen. Like, that's one thing that guys also need to understand is who they are as offensive linemen and who they are as athletes. Like, we all can't play the same way. And, the way I play the way I played was different than, the guys in the same room as me. Like, we might be being coached to do the same things, but we might do them a little differently because I might be more athletic than him. He might be taller and longer than me. So there's different ways to go about it. Like, there's no one way of doing things. Like, there's a clear right way and a wrong way when it comes to offensive line play, but there's no one way. And I always tell my guys that. Like, I try to expose them to as many different techniques and tools as I can, because I tell them all the time, like, everything works until it doesn't. And if you only know one way of doing things, when that's not working, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I kind of subscribe to that way of thinking also. I wanted my guys to have as many tools in their toolbox as they possibly could shove in there. And so when all of a sudden this isn't working, you go to second, third. If you got 2 or 3 moves in a high school kid, that's 2 or 3 is probably what your depth is going to be, unless you have an elite guy, then he might go a little bit deeper. But hopefully if you get to that third one's going to work. Because if you're out there, and we always said, hey, we're going to go out on the field, we're going to throw everything out there that we can. And at the end of the game, if it works, it works. And if not, hey, congratulations, you won the day. And we're going to do everything we could. So if we got to the end of the bottom of the well and it was empty, oh well. So so the next question, are you working for the individual teams? Are they coming in and soliciting you, or is it individual players that are soliciting you to do these things?
So it's the individual players, like with my pro guys that I do it for. It's on an individual basis if they want me to break down opponents for them. And for some of my college guys, like I have some college guys that work with me kind of on a one-off, and then some agencies that I have relationships with that have me work with their NIL guys.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So as your guys come in, and I'm assuming these are going to be guys that are at least 3 years of college experience. I've forgotten over the years of not really focusing on this or being out of this realm, but they're in college 2 years or 3 years before they can come out?
3 years.
3 years. Okay. So most of these guys are, or at least redshirt sophomores, if not true juniors, that might be coming to you in the off season, getting ready.
In the off season, I work with the NFL level all the way down to high school.
Okay.
So a good mix. So, I mean, I'm very college and pro heavy, and then have a handful of high school guys as well.
So these guys that are getting ready for the entry draft, when you have them show up, talk to me about what your approach is as far as how you're evaluating. I'm assuming you do a full evaluation, or you've probably done some of that already on film, or they already have a previous relationship, but at some point you've evaluated, and then you're diagnosing and you're coming up with some sort of prescription for improvement, a practice plan, a schedule, that kind of stuff. Talk about that approach, that mindset that you have with those guys as they come in.
Yeah, so with the pre-draft guys, I work with them down at Exos Gulf Breeze down in Florida. It's beautiful down there, right on the beach, right across the bridge from Pensacola Beach. But in terms of evaluating guys, like I evaluate them before they get down there with me. I watch the tape, watch several games on them, and I hand them a scouting report, just saying, here's what you do well, here's what you need to improve, here's who you are as a player, and then here's some things to help you improve your draft stock. The biggest thing, as I mentioned before, like I'm very big on letting guys be themselves. Whoever you are as a player, I want you to be that. Because the mistake that a lot of pro coaches make, I think a little bit of it's just guys want to put their stamp on people. So instead of letting guys come in and be themselves, some coaches will tweak technique a little too much. An example is when Trevor Penning got to New Orleans. Like, he was a guy who was a big angle setter in college, got to New Orleans, and he was being asked a lot to vertical set, and it was something that he struggled with. So his rookie year, he struggled with that a little bit initially. So I'm very big on just letting guys understand who they are and what they do well and what they don't do well. Make the strengths stronger while addressing the low-hanging fruit with the weaknesses. And the biggest thing for all guys at all levels is posture and hips. Posture and hips is the biggest thing. And when guys get beat in the run game or in pass pro, 9 times out of 10 it's because they fell out of posture and their hips were behind themselves. So
those guys, just focusing on the pre-draft thing, we'll get into the regular treatment and training of those guys in a second, because I'm really intrigued with this whole pre-draft thing as far as what's the number one thing you look at first when you're watching that film, when you're trying to develop that scouting report for the guy that you're going to give him? What's the one thing you hone in immediately? You turn the film on. What are you looking at? Like
So it's
focus like minutia all the way down there. What are you looking at?
a combination of different things. Like I mentioned, are you able to maintain the specific postures that you need to in the run game and in pass, bro? Can you bend? Are you athletic? Do you play with good fundamentals? Like some guys are very, very fundamentally sound coming out of college. The other guys are a little bit more raw and are just making plays off their athleticism and off the way they play in terms of if they're very nasty guys. Like some guys in college can get away with having a little bit of looser technique, which is getting after guys. But there's always a skill gap and a physical gap once you go up from level to level, whether you're going high school to college or college to pro. And for college to pro, it's a pretty big gap physically for a lot of guys. That's why it takes that's why it takes a lot of offensive linemen a little bit of time to play, just because they need to catch up physically. But there's also a skill gap as well, because things happen faster at the pro level. So there's certain things you can get away with in college, just in terms of angles, width of your footwork, landmarks. Like you can be a little sloppy with that type of stuff in college, just because the level of athlete and the level of football intelligence isn't as high in college. But in the pros, everything has to be a lot more precise and a lot more locked in. And those small, tiny details we just really have to catch up for a lot of guys.
Do you see things that eliminate people from contention where you're going to say, I don't know if we want to spend a lot of time on this guy, prepping him because his angles are bad, because he loses his base a lot. He gets narrow frequently in his run blocks and gets thrown off blocks, or he's constantly outside the framework with his hands. Are those things that you're seeing and immediately it's like beyond control, it's beyond fixing? Is that a common occurrence? Because it's a funnel. It's funnel, and those, was it 1/10 of 1% have the opportunity to play at a professional level? So it's a massive funnel and screening system, taking those folks out that have aspirations to do that. Is that something you find happening regularly?
So I mean, really, when you're looking at guys, like things fall into two buckets. Like, are his issues based on his physical capacities, as far as who he is as an athlete, or are they technique issues? Because technique issues you can clean up all day. Some of the guys, they might not have the physical tools to play the next level. And other guys, they might not have the physical tools to play the next level today, but given some more development, they can turn it into solid starters. Like when you see guys come in as young guys for NFL teams and stick around for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden in year 3 they're a full-time starter because that physical development was able to happen for them. So it really just depends. It's a case-by-case basis.
Okay, so doing that right now, getting your off-season set up, and you said the fall's a slow time for you. Do you do mid-season, during season training with the young guys, with the high school guys, or is that something that you kind of lay off and let them do their thing with their coaches?
Now, some of my high school guys still pop in on the weekends, and really with a lot of that, it's kind of game correction type stuff. A lot more talk and teach. Like I'm not going to try to kill you in a training session when you've been practicing all week. You just played a game the night before. Like it's just not smart. Like, you got to be able to let guys' bodies recovering and heal up within days before they go back to practice. But the biggest thing is just being able to talk through. Like, okay, what did you struggle with on Friday? Oh, you gave up a sack. Why? So just finding ways to take that low hanging fruit, like I mentioned before, and just clean up any details that need to be cleaned up. Because the biggest thing, especially for the young guys, is getting them to know what the hell is going on. Because a lot of these kids who play the game at a young age, like, you don't know what you don't know. Making sure that they understand the full context behind the techniques they're trying to use, behind what they're trying to do schematically as far as an offense, and then what the defense is trying to do to them. So you'd be shocked how many. Well, you probably wouldn't be shocked, but how many high school kids you ask, what's your landmark on this play? What's the landmark of the back? What's the angle of the running back? What's the launch point of the quarterback? Like those little details that just help you out a ton. Because if you know where the quarterback's going to be when you're in pass protection, you know where you can't get beat. If you know where the running back's trying to hit the ball, where you can't get beat. And a lot of high school kids just have not a single clue. And like I mentioned, it's you don't know what you don't know. And it's in some cases not the fault of the kids. So just helping them understand that full context is really a big piece.
That big picture holistic approach is huge as far as just knowing leverage. Which way do you need to have a hat? You know, what is your hat on the right side of the block, on the left side of the block, in the middle of the block? What's catastrophic? What's dead right away? Your hat
Mm,
on the wrong side is dead right away. So if we can get that, I always told my guys, like, worst case scenario, as long as you have the proper leverage, you could literally just fall down. If you could fall down and make the guy jump over you, we're better off than you having bad leverage. You know, I'd rather you have good leverage and fall down than have bad leverage and try to block the guy, because that's, you're getting in the way.
hmm
You're not supposed to be there. So that's a good point to point out, and young linemen out there know you got to understand where your leverage is on every play. So as you get into this part of the year, like we're getting to the end of the season, you got probably some guys up there, and I think you're in Atlanta, right? You're still in Atlanta right now. So
hmm
so the guys you're working with are local there. I'm sure some teams up there in Georgia are probably getting to the end of their season. As you get into the beginning of your off season with those young guys, what is it that you're doing? How do you start them off in your off season? What is the stepping stones, the learning process that you're starting with these guys as their season ends? And I mean, obviously, you're gonna give them some time to heal up. You want a healthy body to start off with, but as
hmm
they come in and they've healed, their bodies are ready to go into this off season program. Where do you start those guys?
Yeah. So the way that I approach offensive line development, just from a skill perspective, is I kind of look at it in 4 phases. So phase one being stance and posture. Like stance is an incredibly overlooked skill that a lot of guys have no idea that how important it is. Because
Agreed.
if your stance is not right, you're not be able to properly move. And
Hmm.
posture determines our ability to absorb and generate power. So being able to get the guys in an efficient and effective stance, get them to understand the proper postures and be able to maintain them. So a lot of these guys don't know what right feels like.
Hmm.
And you can yell at a guy all you want, like, oh, do this, do that, but if he doesn't know what right feels like, he's not gonna be able to adjust. I always tell guys too, like, if you can feel it, you can fix it.
Hmm.
If you can't feel it, then you're kind of screwed. And then phase two, being kind of, I call it the drive phase. So that initial run for work off the line of scrimmage, initial pass set, just being able to generate force from your stance. And phase three being the multi-directional movement phase, redirection. So being able to change direction, both in the right.
Mid block, it while in contact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. While in contact, while in pro, and then phase four being the hand-eye phase, just tying it all together. Tying it all together, being able to redirect, being able to connect your eyes, hands, and feet. And that's more of those live reps. But coming off the season, stance and posture is a very, very big deal. Sessions are boring because you're doing a ton of uncomfortable posture work. Your adductors are burning, your glutes are burning, quads are burning, core, back, all that good stuff. But that's the stuff that's really important, because if you can understand those fundamental positions and get really strong in them, then it's going to be easy to maintain them on the field.
And does that consist of a bunch of what some guys might call it bird dog or one steps, single step movements with guys getting muscle memory down and angles down, toe angles down, that kind of stuff?
I'm not big on that, on kind of like one step type of stuff. Like I prefer to segment it in a way that gets them to feel it, right? So instead of like just working on your first step, how about we do pass sets from a knee, or we do our run footwork from a knee, so you can feel driving off your inside foot, because that's understanding the right way to like how to feel pushing off your inside leg in order to move you.
So
Pushing
you're
off the
so
left and
you
off
have that.
the right.
So you're, I'm sorry, your off foot's going to be on a like a med ball or stack of bags or some sort that kind of
Yeah,
forces
either
the guy
either
to
med
push off
ball on the
that.
ground, or you might be bouncing on one leg.
Okay, and then stomping down and then moving off of that. So that leg that's going to come down would be the first initial step out of your stance type
Yep,
of
exactly.
simulation.
Exactly.
Okay,
The,
got it.
the, the mistake that a lot of young guys make and some coaches make is they think we're stepping. We're not stepping. Yeah, we're taking steps, but we're pushing. We're pushers, not steppers.
Hmm.
Like what's moving me to the right is driving off my left foot, not stepping with my right foot. And a lot of young guys think, oh, I got to step this way. It's like, no, you got to drive off that inside foot to generate force and power and get you on the right angle.
Have you? It always amazes me because I've coached him for 30 years. You run into guys here occasionally, not too often, thankfully, but every once in a while, I'd run into a guy that just couldn't transfer the weight from his feet through his legs, up his core, out his arms, and into the defender. Do you have a cheat code or magic elixir that you have in your mind that you can share with folks that might have a player like that that just can't transfer the weight and get the guy to move 6 inches the way he doesn't wanna go? Anything in your brain that sticks out as a recommendation coaching point there?
Uh, so a lot of things that I do are like isometrics, just so getting in that run fit. You can either do it on a wall, do it on a fit bag on a wall, or have a
Mhm.
partner just leaning his weight into you, and you have your hands where they need to be inside. Your feet are pushing into the ground, and you're generating force through the ground. And I just have them hold that position. I do it's a run fit progression. So you start with the ISO hold, and then you progress walking through it, just pushing, generate force to the ground, and then you drive as if you're driving in a live rep, and then last part of it is just finishing. So your feet come together, you're accelerating your feet and trying to put them on the ground. Obviously, you're not literally putting your partner on the ground because that's not a smart way to train. You get what I'm saying.
But to finish, the rolling the hips, lifting, forklifting your
Yeah,
hands, all that aspect.
with the hands, closing space with your feet and with your hips, all that good stuff.
Okay, so go into the third phase there. You said the contact phase or the phase after contact where you're redirecting in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of a run block. The guy's moving, trying to shed, and you have to redirect. What was your third phase title? I've forgotten. I'm sorry.
It's just redirection or
Redirection.
multi-directional.
Okay, so your redirection phase there. How are you going about doing that? Is that body on body, just or body on a bag, and you're moving it and making the guy redirect his hips and feel the weight shift and just kind of play with the movement of the body and the hips to mirror the give and take of the balance that's coming from the defender. Is that what you're doing a lot of there?
Yeah, so I like giving my guys a lot of different stimuli, whether it be a guy in front of them that they have to mirror, or if they're fitted up on them, mirror them that way, whether it be a visual stimulus pointing, whether it be verbal. Just because when you give guys different stimuli, it makes the brain process more information. Um, Obviously, nothing beats live reps with a live defender. But if you can react to a visual stimulus, a verbal stimulus, all in the same way, then it's going to make your nervous system a little bit more efficient. And redirection is a trained skill, something that's not easy to do. And being able to redirect more than once is incredibly hard.
Mhm.
But being able to take your pass head out, kick out, shut down the inside move, but then you have to kick back out because he hits another counter off of that. That's something that's very, very hard. And a lot of guys will drop the outside foot when they have to kick back out and just create a short edge. So being able to, especially in pass pro, get guys to change direction more than once and stay square while they're doing it, that's something that takes time for a lot of guys to master and get comfortable doing. Just because it's easy just to open up that hip and drop that foot, but staying square is something that harder to do. But if you get really good at doing it, you'll be a lot better football player as a result.
So you're harping square hips. That's like a big, big sell point for you. Square hips, square hips, square hips.
Yeah. So I mean, we want to stay square on pass pro. Like some guys are able to get away with it, but the guys that are able to get away with it, like Terran Armstead was very good at dropping his outside foot, but not opening up the gate. And the way he was able to do that was he's not dropping it behind himself, and he's still creating width with his inside foot. Like there are some guys that were comfortable being able to turn and just force guys around the edge, but there's a lot of young guys who will just drop their outside foot and turn their shoulders entirely and create a short edge. I mean, when you open up, it creates or it gives the guy a three-way go. Like he can beat you around the edge, he can go inside, or he can bull you. But there are some guys who are good enough to get away with it. And like I mentioned earlier, context, that's something that's very important. And I really harp with a lot of my young guys, high school guys especially, is that when you see these NFL guys do certain things, it makes you understand why they did it. Like you see all these guys who want to hand flash and all this cute stuff. It's like, yeah, that stuff, it can work. It can be very effective, but you got to know why that guy did it. Like he hand flashed because the pass rush he's facing is very active with his hands and he wanted him to bite on it. If you're hand flashing a guy who only has a bull rush, that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-mm.
Or if you're trapping a guy when there was no need to trap him and now you're all the way in the quarterback's lap, it's very important for guys to understand the context behind certain techniques and what they see, because a lot of the cool stuff, the fancy stuff, that's what guys want to do because it's cool. But sometimes you're better off just using base fundamentals, and you would have did a much better job.
Particularly with the younger guys, the flashy upper level doctorate level football stuff,
Mhm.
it's a waste in time and energy because most of the time you can get those first level, second level, tertiary level skills done, and it'll get the job done. And shoot, there's plenty of stuff to work on that before you worry about flashing hands. So, coach, go into the eye aspect of it. How you train the eyes of the offensive line. What is it that you want them to be able to do, and why is that so important for them to be able to do that?
Yeah, so in terms of training the eyes, it's a lot of eye reps, especially with hand striking. Like the two biggest aspects that a lot of guys need to clean up when coming from college to the NFL is their ability to close space with their hips in the run game. That being able to close space with your feet and with your hips can allow you to stay attached to the block and just
Mhm.
create more power for yourself. And then a lot of guys need to get better with their hands, both in the run game and especially in pass pro. And being able to strike with a lot more force in their hands and just being a lot more active with their hands. Hand usage jumps up a ton from from high school to college, from
Mhm.
college to pro. Like that's a very big skill gap for a lot of guys. So, and the hand-eye phase, especially in terms of pass pro, doing a lot of different strikes, working different strikes, and just understanding where it is you're looking at. Like I always tell guys, aim small to miss small.
Mhm.
So as far as the target that you're looking at on his body, like I'm not a stickler about that. Like some guys be like, oh, you always have to look at this one spot. It's like wherever you want to look, cool. Just make it highly specific. Like if you're looking at this Nike check on my shoulder, or if you're looking at my shoulder, don't just say, oh, I'm looking at his shoulder. Say, no, I'm looking at the tip of his Nike check because that's something that's very highly specific. That's going to make you more focused in terms of your movements, but it's also going to make you more focused in terms of where you're landing your hands.
And assuming you're working on hand-eye coordination, if you look there, hopefully your hand's going right where your
Where you
eye
want
is
to
too,
go. Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
that's the even more incentive to make sure your eye's looking at the right thing. So if your eye's focusing where your hand's going and your hand's going to hit where your eye's looking, you want it all to line up and be good there. Okay,
Mhm.
so as you are, let's say you're taking a young guy, let's say you got like a ninth or 10th grader coming to you, and he's saying, Coach, but make me a great offensive lineman. Where are you
Mhm.
starting with? I mean, you've already mentioned this. You're starting with the stance and posture for sure.
And posture,
What's a
number one.
drill that you're going to put? And I've had some guys tell me that they don't like the word drill, but I think there's got to be some drill aspect of it to start everything off. You got a guy that doesn't know what he's doing. You're going to have to do some sort of drill work. It can't be all live reps and body on body and that kind of stuff. So where are you
Mhm.
starting a ninth, a 14, 15-year-old kid? He's a big old kid. His dad brings him in and says, look, he wants to play offensive line. I don't know what to do with him. Fix him, make him. What are you taking this guy, this piece of Play-Doh, you're going to fashion it into a dominant offensive lineman. Where are you starting with this guy?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, stance and posture is number one. But then as far as the run game goes, like I mentioned earlier, doing a lot of stuff off one leg. I'm also very big on using resistance bands. Using resistance and assistance, it reinforces posture and it reinforces foot position. Because there's certain times where you can get away with being out of position if you don't have something pulling against you. For example, if I'm taking a pass set and I have a band assisting me while I do that, that's going to force me to be stable at the top of the spot. And if I'm setting on air, if I'm unstable at the top of the spot,
Yeah, you can lean.
I can get away with it. But
Yeah.
if I have a band pulling me, I'm going to get pulled out of position. So that's a great way to allow guys to feel like, oh, I was leaning over my outside foot too much. That's why I got pulled out of position, and just getting them
And
to
so
under.
you're setting the bands up to pull opposite, like if you're kick sliding to the right
Mhm.
or power stepping to the right, you got that band on the left.
I do both. Like you might be pushing against resistance, or you might be having assistance with it. And
So
I also will have them redirect with it. Like, okay, like the band's pulling you, it's assisting you, but now take three kicks in a post or three
mhm.
kicks in a post. So now you have to boom, you get that assistance, be stable at the top of your spot, and then post inside against resistance. And then the run game, I use resistance almost exclusively in the run game. I really just use the assistance in pass pro because it forces stability at the top of the spot. But the run game, using resistance for guys because that just really forces them to push. And again, creating that feel of what it's like to push off that inside foot, to bring your hips with you and generate power.
Again, the key word there, the last word to use is power and generating
Mhm.
that power because The more power you can generate, the better shot you have of moving somebody out of the way. Are you using sleds at all? Is there any type of sled work that you're using? I'm assuming most of your guys you're in t-shirt and shorts. You're not necessarily training in pads, or do you have pads there that you train in to be a little bit more authentic and real?
I'm big on the fit shield, like the Gilman fit shield that guys can just hang over their neck. That's what we use a lot of the times, or we'll just use our actual bodies. But we use the fit shields a lot. Sometimes med balls. I don't have sleds, so that's why I really don't use them. And if I did, it would just be quick. The coaches who make their guys drive the sleds all over the field, like that's not necessarily the most effective. And a lot of times it was more so like a punishment. Like I remember being in middle school and high school, and then sometimes in college at Vandy, where we're pushing a 5-man sled all over the field for 10 minutes of Indy. I was like, yeah, it's cool from building a mentality of working hard and stuff like that, but it's not necessarily developing a skill.
I did use sleds, not in the length of time, but I had a sled routine that we would go through that my goal is I wanted my guys bringing their feet.
Yeah.
I wanted to generate power and bring their feet. And I thought that was the best bang for my buck. If I had 7 or 8 minutes, I could put a 5-man sled. We had maybe a 12-play routine that we would go through. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to see those guys accelerate their feet and get going as fast. I wanted to dominate the line of scrimmage, get my feet where my hands were as fast as I possibly could. And so we would definitely do that. We definitely use that. Have you ever used a 6-point progression to generate hip thrust, and you're using that on bags on the fit shields, I'm assuming?
Yep, big on that. And then I'm also big on the Crowther. I don't have one, but I like the Crowther a lot. Like just playing. It's a great way to get guys to get that second step in the ground quickly, and a great way to work gap scheme footwork with ace, deuces, and trays, and then also working backside footwork with A, B, and C blocks. And then I also like that Big Bertha sled that Callahan created, just because that's something that really reinforces feel for a lot of guys, because it's big, it's awkward, it's heavy as shit. So like the reason why he created it was just to get guys to understand how to close space with their feet and with their hips. It's one thing that I send to a lot of my guys just so they can visually understand what I mean. And when I say close space with your feet and with your hips, like there's a clip that went viral last year of J.C. Latham when he's with the Titans, or obviously he's still with the Titans now, but his rookie year with the Titans, his first practice with the Big Bertha, and I think that's what it's called. But he struggled moving it because his hips were behind him. He wasn't closing his feet, and he was out of position. And then a couple of days later, they showed him working on it again, and he was close space with his feet, playing with his hips underneath himself, and he was moving it no problem. So that's a great way for guys to understand how to do that. And I guess that's a great training tool that a lot of teams have now at the pro level and at the college level, just because it's a way to get guys to understand that feel without having to necessarily beat each other up in Indy.
Yeah. You mentioned a second ago backside blocks. What's your philosophy on the backside as far as, I guess, let's say we're running like an ISO play, I know obviously different plays are going to have different schemes on the backside. What's your approach for teaching backside blocks for particularly, we'll say start with ISO, we'll move down a couple different schemes here.
So, from a double team perspective, or from a cutoff perspective?
From a cutoff perspective.
Yeah, so from a cutoff perspective, the angles and the aiming points are very similar to the front side, but one thing that guys have to understand is you're aiming to where he's going to be, not where he is, especially on outside zone. So getting guys to understand that, and then also like on inside zone, your hat placement's going to be front side now, where on the front side of inside zone, your hat placement inside via the neck. So just understanding how that angle is going to change a little bit, and then the placement of the backside hand, it might be a little bit more in the sternum than in the backside armpit, but it really just depends. But kind of the same deal in terms of footwork, just driving off that, in this case, it'd be the outside foot. So if I'm at right guard, I have to cut off a 2-eye, pushing off that right foot, trying to get my hat to the inside V of his neck, and then getting that backside hand in that sternum breastplate or in that backside armpit. And then same deal, closing space with my feet and my hips and working through him. Like that's something that a lot of guys struggle with, because the easiest thing to do on a cutoff block is just to run him down the line of scrimmage and add it to the wall. Yep. But you got to get vertical displacement. And once you get fitted up on a guy, being able to get that vertical displacement, that's something that's very big and that I harp on a lot with my guys, just because it cleans stuff up for the running back.
Yeah.
Because if you add him to the wall, the only place he can cut, only place he can go is off your backside. But if you vertically move him off the ball, he can go inside of you, he can go outside of you, and it just defines the read better for the running back.
Yeah, it's creating lanes that shouldn't be there. Pursuit angles are getting adjusted. As soon as that running back can break that pursuit angle, the backside too, then it's one less guy's got to worry about. He can get past him much easier that way for sure. Do you teach cut blocking on the backside?
I'm not.
Teach. Let me rephrase that. Do you cover that at all? Do you instruct on that skill? Would be a better way of.
I'm not big on it.
Okay.
There are times where you have to. Like for example, say it's toss play, you got a fast guy. You gotta do what you gotta do. But the biggest thing for a lot of guys is make sure you get him running first before you go ahead and drop down and cut. I know personally when I was playing, I wasn't big on cutting because, we didn't get a lot of live reps at it in practice. Like they didn't let us cut the scout team. At least when I was at Vandy, we weren't allowed to cut the scout team. So I never got comfortable doing it. So I didn't do it often. I just prefer to use my athleticism and cut guys off then. And then at Georgia Tech, we cut the scout team on Tuesdays, but still kind of the same deal. Like I was just more comfortable just cutting them off using my feet as opposed to just trying to cut.
When you were at Tech, what kind of offense were you guys running when you were at Tech?
We were the spread, baby. It was the first year with Jeff Collins. So I did not play in the Paul Johnson triple option, but
I was gonna say because if you did, you would have had a chance to.
Yeah, I would have been cutting my ass off if I was in that offense.
Absolutely, would have been a staple, right? That's hysterical. All right, Coach. So, what would you say is probably the most overhyped aspect of an offensive line coach that just you hear this all the time? You're like, man, there's nothing to that. Like, why do they keep talking about this drill, this rep, this skill, this technique? Is there anything that sticks out in your mind that just they're beating a dead horse, that it's just not as important as everyone wants to believe that it is?
So I mean, I played all five lines, all five positions on the O line. So, but tackle really is that's my bread and butter. And the thing that's overcoached and overhyped the most, especially in college, is vertical setting. Vertical setting, I'm very against it. The guys who are very good vertical setters are guys who tend to be bigger, or guys who are very good at absorbing power. Like for example, Lane Johnson. He sets deep, he sets vertical. He wants people to bull rush him because he has no problem anchoring bull rushers because he's strong as shit, plays with low hands, so he has no problem doing that. And some guys are able to get away with it. But guys create problems for themselves when they set vertical because as a tackle, our responsibility is the width of the pocket. Now, if I set straight back, I've done nothing to influence width of the pocket. I haven't widened it at all. And the margin for error is now a lot smaller because if I get knocked back at all, that quarterback's right next to me. But if I'm if I'm on an angle, I make contact sooner. I've widened the pocket, and now I have a larger margin of error because if I get beat, but I'm far away from the quarterback, he's not going to get hit on. So I'm very big on angle setting at tackle. If you're on the man side, you should be on angles no matter what. But if you're on the slide side, that's a time where, I want guys to set a little tighter, set more vertical, just so you don't screw your guard. Like I said, I played all five spots on the line, so it gave me that advantage of knowing what stuff feels like at other positions. Nothing's going to make you a better tackle than if you understand what stuff feels like at guard. And nothing's going to make you a better guard if you understand what stuff feels like at center, if stuff feels like a tackle, just because it allows you to be a better teammate. Like I know I was having this conversation the other day about rotations. Like you see a lot of colleges rotating 6, 7, 8 guys, which isn't a bad thing. Like in the pros, you really can't rotate just because you get out of continuity. But in college, it's a little bit easier to do because it's a great way to develop your young guys, get live reps, and then you also in this NIL era. Yeah. If you have if you have a guy who's a good player and you definitely want to keep him around, and he might not be better than the guy starting ahead of him, but you need to get him on the field just so he, 1, develops, and 2, so he stays in your program. Understanding how guys play different. Like I know when I was at Georgia Tech, we rotated the 2 right guards next to me at tackle. And one was a bigger guy, a little shorter guy, and he set super, super, super firm in pass pro. So I had to understand, like, okay, if he's in the game, I can't set that far back off the ball because we're going to get off levels. And the other guard who rotated in, He set on more angles, created more space off the ball. Whenever they were rotating, I had to understand how to adjust the way I was playing to deal with their play styles and just to make us most effective next to each other.
I'm 100% agreement with you, and I don't know. Do you have any knowledge as to when this vertical set stuff kind of has? I mean, it just seems like it's taken over in the last few years. Like that's
Yeah,
the
it's
latest
been very
rage.
big the past 5 to 10 years. I mean, like just when colleges got very, very pass pro heavy, it started to get really big because a lot of coaches are afraid of getting beat by games, getting beat by inside moves. But if you teach your tackles how to use their eyes,
Hmm.
you're not able to, or is it you're not gonna get beat on a twist if your eyes on the right spot. And then just also too, just understand the situation. Like, yeah, okay, it's 3rd and 11. Yeah, set vertical. Don't get as wide, but there's no need to set vertical all the time. And then some of my guys who they play for coaches who want them to set vertical all the time, and I'll tell them, okay, well, if in order for you to get on the field, you
That's
have
right.
to do what you're being told to do.
Yeah.
But there's ways to get around that. So you might set vertical to 40, go vertical to jump set with 3-step short set. So just finding ways to kind of treat coaching as a framework more than a hard set of rules. Like make the system and the techniques work for you as opposed to the other way around.
It drives me crazy. I think about my tackles in high school, and if I had them vertical setting, I'm making it so much easier on the defensive end to just run
Mm-hmm.
right through them. Like
Yep.
I'm giving them a head start, letting them run for 3 yards typically as it is, and I'm going to back up 2 more yards. I'm giving them a 5 yard head start, and my guy's got to bow up and take him on with a 5 yard head start. I'm like, no, that's nearly impossible for everybody. The fact that I'm glad you mentioned that the bigger dudes, the stronger dudes are trying to do that and it's easier for them to absorb. That makes some more sense in my brain. I can reconcile that a little bit, but I've just never understood that. I agree with you. We need to start a stop vertical pass set league or .com or something and get rid of all this stuff.
Another thing too that guys also don't understand sometimes is that just because you didn't set wide doesn't mean you didn't overset. Because you can set too deep and get off level from your guard, and then boom, you get beat inside. Because yeah, you set too deep, you overset. So just because you didn't get too wide doesn't mean that you didn't overset. So having guys understand that context, that's really going to help them out. Because yeah, you stayed vertical, you stayed inside out, but you got too deep, so you got beat inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The concert of it all up front, the guards working together and the centers working together, that's massive to make sure that you put out there a nice little pocket that the quarterback is protected in and can move and step forward and have a clean release and
Mm-hmm.
a clean pathway to get to the ball out. What is something that now, not being a coach of a team, this isn't necessarily a pertinent question, but you'll get the idea. Hopefully you'll have an answer here. Let's say you got weather coming in and there's something that you got to get done with your guys. There's one thing that you're going to get done every day. This is top priority. What's that one skill set that you're trying to develop every day? What is that going to be for you?
I mean, every day we're going to touch some element of stance and posture, and then after that, just being able to generate force off the line of scrimmage. Especially like for example in pass pro, a lot of guys be like, oh, he's got a great get off. I need to move faster. Like, no, you need to be more explosive. Mm-hmm. If you generate more force out of your stance, you'll cover more ground, and then in turn you'll move faster. Just because your body's moving faster doesn't mean you're actually getting to your spot faster. So again, just having guys understand that feel of driving off the inside foot, both in the run game and in pass pro, and just being able to play with independent feet. The concept of independent hands is talked about a lot, but the concept of independent feet is something that's preached a lot by Willie Anderson, who I trained with when I was playing. And just being able to redirect independently with each foot. So pushing off the left foot to go right and pushing off the right foot to go left. That's something that's very, very important. That's what's going to help you redirect and just making sure you're balanced down the midline of your body. That's going to help guys redirect and stay in the proper positions.
Question your preference here. Do you ever see an advantage into having a level stance with your feet? I mean, the centers typically do that most often, but as a tackle or a guard, do you see an advantage in that anywhere? Do you have a outside hand down, outside leg back type of approach all the time?
I always have outside hand down and some element of stagger, but having more even feet in the run game can be more effective for some guys. Like I know with Callahan up with Tennessee and with Scott Peters with the Bengals, they're very big on like the run stance is even feet, just so guys can move effectively in either direction, and then in pass pro get a little more stagger. But it really just depends. Because I know one of the debates these past couple of years, like, oh, Trent Williams is king of stance off. It's like, so the what? Can you stop him? No. In college and in high school, you don't want guys to key stuff off as much, but in the NFL, guys already know what's going to happen. They've watched so much tape; nothing's a secret.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you got to do to put yourself in the best possible position to do your job that you're getting paid a lot of money to do, go ahead and do it. Because like I said, whether you know it's a run or whether you know it's a pass, you still have to deal with one of the best tackles to ever play the game. He's still dominating.
Power.
Yeah, with a lot of power, a lot of athleticism.
Yeah,
1% are athletically.
Are you doing any strength training with your guys, or is it just skill development, technique development?
No, I do strength training as well. I really enjoy pairing the two, and just being able to pair your deficiency or to pair the weight room with the skill work. It's a great way to properly train the nervous system to make sure you have the strength requirements to be effective on the field, make sure you have the mobility requirements to be effective on the field, and then just being able to address the low-hanging fruit.
What's your top lift in the weight room? Strength training, exercise, how to do this in order to be better offensive lineman? What's that one thing you would make them do?
Everything starts from the ground up. So, being able to develop the lower body. With big, I use a lot of compound lifts like squat. I'm a big box squat guy just because it's a static dynamic movement. Being able to squat down to a box, pause, and then explode off with power. Mm-hmm. Same way as if you be in your stance, being able to explode out of your stance from dead stop. And then also a lot of unilateral movements for the lower body, lunges, Bulgarians. I mean, a lunge movement is similar. You push off in a lunge the same way you would in your pass set, similar movement pattern. And then also too, just in terms of understanding functional joints, like everything starts from the ground up. So making sure guys have mobile ankles, because force has to go somewhere, right? So if your joint is immobile, the force is not going to be able to be properly absorb or dissipate properly, and that force has to go somewhere. So if my ankle can't properly absorb the force, that's going to travel up into my knee, which might travel into my hip, and what have you. So just making sure that guys are creating an effective chain from the ground up, from the ankle to the knee to the hip. Like those are all base joints in athletes, and especially in offensive linemen, that you really have to take care of. Having mobile ankles is something that's really important because that just influences your connection to the ground. If you have very stiff ankles, it's going to be hard to connect yourself to the ground just because you can't properly load and root yourself in the ground. That's why you see a lot of guys who is like, yeah, you're 340 pounds, but you can't anchor at all. It's because you got shitty ankles. Like there's a manual therapist that I work with in Atlanta, Brian Glotzback, and he was Willie's guy when he was playing, works with a ton of pros. And he specializes in a ton of work on the ankles and on the hips. And I send a lot of my pro guys to him as well. But really what he's trying to do is just create stable ankles for guys. Because like I said, like if you have shitty ankles, you're not going to be able to connect yourself with the ground. And then you're not going to be able to play with power and absorb power.
It's funny you say that. I had a really good offensive lineman a few years ago, and he was getting recruited by all the big schools. And these big schools would come in, and he was a monster. I mean, he would just devour people. But if you looked at him playing football on film from his knees down, I didn't understand it. I'm like, he's stiff there from just beneath the knees down through his ankles and toes and feet. His ankles were stiff. They didn't flex properly. They forced him to kind of have an awkward stance that he was able to accommodate because he was just a road grader. He would just rip your face off and enjoy every minute of it. So he was a phenomenal offensive lineman, but he just wasn't flexible. I couldn't understand it. I'm like, what are you looking at? Like, there's got to be some evaluation of ankle flexibility here, because it's not going to translate. Like, all this is great. He's dominating guys that are, as strong, maybe bigger, decent football players, but that's not the next levels. Everybody's dominant. Everybody's big. Everybody's strong. It's not going to translate. Sure enough, a kid went off to school and never really had an opportunity. He had some injuries too, based on flexibility, I think was part of the issue as well, but never really was able to break through because and I always thought, man, he had stiff ankles. It was something that stopped him from being successful at the next level. All right, coach, as we get ready to roll down here, I'd like to talk about how much the character aspect of the offensive line is and just how you have some just zany dudes playing offensive line. And you've had the opportunity to be in two different schools. You had both schools and you yourself and a very smart and intelligent dude, which always in my mind made the zany even more amplified because they had brain power to go down on different roads that the average brain wouldn't even investigate. Are there anybody that sticks out in your mind that fits that bill first? And then any funny stories you have of offensive linemen over the course of your career or coaching here that you could share that would illustrate the mental mindset of the offensive lineman?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, with offensive line, you get a lot of different personalities. You get a lot of different personalities. You got guys who are a lot of guys are very cerebral, just because offensive line is a very demanding position from a mental standpoint, especially centers and stuff like that, like the Jason Kelce's of the world. And then you also get some guys that are crazy and unhinged, and some guys that are truly gentle giants. Like the offensive line is the coolest position, and usually the most tight knit position, because we spend a lot of time with each other off the field. Like we spend a lot of time eating, just hanging out. Like all these other positions aren't necessarily doing that. So offensive lines can get very close and very tight knit. But there's a lot of different personalities in that room, so it makes it a lot of fun. And it really just depends on from room to room, school to school, and it also depends who's kind of running the room in terms of what personalities are allowed to shine. But trying to think of
who's the craziest guy you played with.
Craziest guy that I played with, probably some of the guys on defense.
Okay.
Yeah, probably something like on the O line. We really didn't have too many crazy guys. Some of the older guys when I was at Vandy, like Barrett Gallagher and Will Holden. Will played, I think, about 6 or 7 years in the NFL, but those were just typical. They were assholes. They were guys to have on the team, good guys to have on the field. Like they were not assholes off the field, but on the field, like they played like assholes.
Yeah.
The smartest guy that I played with though was Spencer Pulley. So Spencer Pulley was our center, my true freshman year at Vanderbilt, and he signed with the Chargers as an undrafted free agent. I mean, had we been better that year, he probably would have got drafted because there would have been more eyes on him. Mm-hmm. But Spencer signed with the Chargers as an undrafted free agent. They also drafted a center in the 4th round that year who they ended up cutting and putting on practice squad because Spencer beat him out.
Wow.
Spencer was a fifth year for us. He was a 5-year starter because his freshman year he started and then ended up medically redshirting. But he was just very, very smart. His body was held together by braces and tape, but he was just tough as shit. And he was a very smart player. Like he was a good athlete, but he wasn't a great athlete, but he had a great understanding of the position and a great understanding of football. And he always was on the right angle, was always doing the right thing. He always was in the right position. Like I remember, I think it was fall camp. Like Spencer didn't lose one-on-ones at all in practice. And there was one time in fall camp, he got beat by a defensive tackle who we had. And that D tackle, like a great dude, love him to this day. But he ran his mouth a lot. And he beat Spencer. He started talking shit. Got upset, got pissed off, and that D tackle was quiet for the rest of the day because Spencer pancaked him about 10 times throughout the rest of practice. Like he was a guy who was a true through and through offensive lineman.
Yeah,
smart as hell, tough as hell. Somebody who no matter what he was going to do whatever he needed to do to play. Like when I say he was held together by braces and tape, like his body was fighting, but he was able to play and start every game for us, and then had a productive NFL career. And he started a good amount, I believe, with the Chargers, and then he's with the Jets for a little bit as well. And then a guy that I work with now, Keelan Rutledge at Georgia Tech. Like that is a true junkyard dog tone setter. Every team and every agent that hits me up about him, they all talk about how that's a guy who's going to come in and change the mindset and the culture of an offensive line room. Because, everybody talks about being tough and being a man and a dog and all that shit. But like this kid is all of that. Like there's certain guys where, you can just see it. Like you don't have to talk about it. Like you can just see in the way he trains, the way he approaches the game. And it's evident in the way he plays. He's always trying to put guys on the ground and really just physically impose his will against guys. And that's a true tone setter.
Yeah, you want to find 5 of those if you can.
Yes. Yep. If you find 5 of those, you win every game.
That's awesome. Well, coach, last question here for you. Tell me a little bit about what you got going on. If there's people that want more information about what you're doing and what services you offer out there for folks, and I guess particularly the Atlanta area, but if wherever, I'm sure that they can reach out to you. Where would they be able to reach out to you and contact you and perhaps get involved with you?
Yeah. So big on Instagram, at JSouthers, JSOUTHERS. Also on TikTok, S_O-line development, posting a lot over there. TikTok is great for the younger market because that's the social media that they're on the most. I was always very anti-TikTok, and then I finally jumped on it this past summer, and we posted a lot of stuff and getting good traction over there. A lot of engagement with some of these younger kids. Then also I have my website, oldevelopment.com, and then I also have a online course that I recently created. It's on CoachTube, and that just kind of outlines my 4 phases of offensive line development and a ton of different drills that you can do on your own. Kind of just I walk through every drill, the intent and purpose of it, and then it's demonstrated by some of my NFL guys. So you're able to see guys doing stuff the right way, and it just outlines a lot of stuff that guys can do on their own. Because there's a ton of kids that reach out to me and want to train with me, but unfortunately they're not local to Atlanta. So this is a great way for them to get access to a lot of stuff that I'm doing in sessions and be able to do it on their own.
Right. In that book, you could get that booklet and then even pair it with some of the TikTok stuff. I'm sure that the stuff you're
So it's actually the video course. It's all videos.
Oh, video. So you could watch a video and then even pair it with some of the TikTok stuff that you got going there. Because I know you got a lot of training videos of your kids in the room training with you, that they could see that happen in real life with kids their age and their size and body type. And that's a tremendous asset to have out there for people to get involved with. And I will put that stuff in the comments page there on the YouTube channel so that people can see that if they want to go and look you up. I'll get that there for you. And again, Coach, I'm so thankful for you, Jared, for taking time out of your schedule for sharing this. I mean, phenomenal resource of offensive line knowledge there, and I'm very thankful and grateful for you taking time out of your schedule to be with us here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Awesome so much. Have a great afternoon, Jared, and remember, master the trenches and you'll win the war.
Absolutely.